Okay, so thank you for joining us all today for the Muslim Delegates and Allies training for the virtual phone bank for the 50-state voter mobilization. Today, we're really excited to have Ali bin Zahid today, who is a project management professional based in Chicago. He has run for office in Canada and has done extensive outreach and canvassing work. And he was also part of Justin Trudeau's 2015 campaign for Prime Minister and has helped elect a Liberal MP from Calgary for the first time in 50 years. And since then, he has been involved in many other campaigns, including the Bernie Sanders 2016 and 2020 presidential runs. And now he's working to help elect Joe Biden as our next president. And, and just also want to say, it's really been a pleasure to work with Ali to get this phone banking off the ground. And he's really put in, countless amount of hours to really go through and pour over the data. And so we really think we have a strategy that will help us with being a part of a win for Florida. So please go ahead, Ali.
Well, thank you, Nadia. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm very excited to be able to talk to you and share my thoughts. Politics in Canada is very different to politics in the States, and I'm very lucky to have experienced both. It gives you a whole new perspective. One incident that I remember from Prime Minister Trudeau's campaign is that he supported a bill introduced by the Conservative government at the time that I strongly disagreed with. And I wanted him to know that. So basically I told him that, hey, supporting the bill was counter to his father's legacy. And his father was a great prime minister himself through the late 60s to the early 80s. So it's very blunt about him. And Prime Minister Trudeau took it very, very nicely. He put his hand on my shoulder and walked me through exactly why he supported that bill and why, in his opinion, it was in line with his father's views. And that kind of humility is something we don't see very often in politics today. But I think Joe Biden has exhibited that on many occasions. Now, I know that Joe Biden was not everyone's first choice. I'll be honest, he wasn't mine either. But the one thing that unites us all is our strong belief that Donald Trump must go. And I'm not going to talk through all the reasons why he has to go, but I'll just mention a couple of things here. A president that knowingly put his people in harm's way, interacting with people at an indoor event after finding out that one of his closest aides had tested positive for COVID-19 and possibly had infected him, that's a new low, even for Trump. And from a political standpoint, I think the biggest issue right now is that our civil rights and liberties are at risk. If we get another conservative justice on the Supreme Court, our lives will change drastically and not in a good way. And I don't care what Trump says or what McConnell says or what Lindsey Graham says, it's not over. We will fight till the end in ensuring that Amy Coney Barrett does not get confirmed. So let's talk about how we can make it happen. Obviously, we know that we need to get out there and vote. But the important thing is that we need to get as many people as we can to do the same. And our main focus right now, obviously, is Florida. It's the largest swing state in the country with 29 electoral votes. I think if we win Florida, we win the election. And now, since most of the campaign is in a virtual state, the best way we can reach people is by phone banking. It's easy, it's fun, and it's effective. And I think it will get us over the line. And shortly, I will show you guys how I make these calls. Because in order to maximize our reach, we need to make sure that the calls are made in the most efficient way possible. Quick conversations, getting the right information across, getting the right information back, and bam, you're done. So what I will do is just open the script and sort of walk you guys on what I do in making these calls and how we can quickly get the information that we need. So the first few things that we need is, we need to ask people if, hey, do they support Joe Biden? If they do, how are they planning on voting? Can they remind their friends and family to vote? are they willing to volunteer? Now, I know that's a lot of questions, right? And people sometimes don't have the time to answer those questions. And oftentimes, people might get annoyed if you keep asking them questions. So what I try to do is not interview them or not interrogate them. I have a conversation with them. And since it becomes a two-way street, I can get all the information I need without actually asking all the questions. And I'll show you how I do that. I'm just gonna share my screen here and open the script. And as you can see, the script is quite extensive. There's a lot of information here. You don't have to go through the entire script.
This is Rick Kahn.
And
sorry I missed your call. Please
what you need to do is
your phone number, and I'll reach you as soon as I can. Thank you.
What you need to do is, if it's the first time you're phone banking, maybe read through the script once. But what I do is use a condensed script in my mind and get all the answers I need. So the first thing you will do is ask the person you're calling if they are the right person. So if I'm calling, I'll say, hey, is Bilal available? And they'll say, yes. Then I'll say, hey, Bilal, my name is Ali. I'm calling with the Joe Biden campaign. How are you doing? And they'll say they're doing well. And then you continue the conversation. Hey, that's great. I just wanted to quickly check in with you and see if we can count on your support for Joe Biden. They'll most likely say yes, which you'll mark in your answer here. Sometimes you'll get a lot of enthusiastic people and they'll say, absolutely, we love Joe Biden, we want him as our president. If they do that, return the energy back to them and say, hey, that's fantastic, thank you for your support. Then ask them how they plan on voting. Are they planning on voting in person? Are they gonna be mailing in their ballot? And you can ask them directly, or another way is that you sort of give them an idea, tell them what you're doing and see if they sort of agree with that. You could say something like, hey, I think early voting is the way to go. It's safe, it's quick, you'll be done in no time. Is that something that you're planning on doing? And then they might give you the same answer. And it's great if they vote early. I think that's definitely the best way. And then you can just mark your voting method here. Then you say, hey, I hope you can remind all of your friends and family to go out and vote as well. Florida is going to be really key. It's going to be tight, so we need all the votes we can get. And by saying that, you get the answer to your next question without actually asking the question. So that's how it's a conversation, not an interview. So once you do that, the last thing is volunteer. Now, a lot of people, most people may not want to volunteer, but you give them a reason to do that or have them relate to you. So what I do is something like, hey, before I let you go, one final question. I'm with a group called Muslims for Biden, and we're trying to get the Muslim vote out. We think that our Muslim vote can really make a difference in this election. Would you be willing to help us on our mission and make phone calls similar to the phone call I just made to you? Then they're most likely going to say yes, or they're more inclined to say yes. And if that happens, great, sign them up. If you think they're unsure and they say, I don't know, maybe, maybe not, what I do is I say, hey, is it okay if I text you our website? It has all the details about who we are and all the events that we're hosting. I've never received a no when I say that. People are always okay with that. So what I do is after the call, text them all the details. I follow up with them later on and then add them to our volunteer groups if they're okay with that. So what you've now done is not only gotten a vote, but also you've made a connection, and that is key, I think. On the odd occasion, you will find someone that is undecided. They don't want to support Biden or they haven't made up their mind. That's okay. You don't need to know everything about policy to sort of have the conversation with them or convince them. But what you should do is ask them, hey, what is the issue that's most important to you? They'll tell you an issue. If you know the answer to that, talk to them about it. If you don't, pivot the conversation back to yourself and say, hey, I think that is a really important issue. For me, the biggest issue is, let's say, Obamacare. I think we need Joe Biden as a president so we can protect our healthcare. That gives them something to think about, gives them food for thought, and then you might be able to convince them. And on the very rare occasion that you do find a conservative or a Trump supporter, simply politely, thank them for their time and move on. You don't need to engage with them. And I think that is it. Happy to take questions if there are any.
Ali, can you tell us a little bit more specifically about like the strategy in terms of like why we're focusing on these specific areas and like what your experience has been in the past?
Absolutely. I will give an example back of the 2015 Justin Trudeau campaign. That was a historic election for many reasons. And one of the reasons was that the Muslim voter turnout, which is historically low everywhere, I think, we bumped that up to 80%. So having an 80% Muslim turnout was key in making sure that Prime Minister Trudeau won some key constituencies, got some MPs elected, and won the election. So we really focused on some target constituencies and got those seats for Prime Minister Trudeau. We're sort of doing this a similar thing here as well. In Florida specifically, we know it's going to be close. We all remember the example from 2000 where President Bush won the election by 537 votes. So Florida is always close. We want to focus on 3 key counties because we know that the margin of victory in those counties was quite close. And if we can get the Muslim turnout there, we can flip those counties and flip Florida. And the story that might be out there is that, hey, Muslims helped flip these Republican counties and helped us win Florida. So we're focusing on certain counties. We know the Muslim vote is there. We just need to engage them, excite them, and turn out the vote.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other questions from anybody that's joined? Or we can also go over the training again if you've just joined to just kind of go over what needs to be done. I'm redropping the VPB link into the chat. And so I think we can start making calls now. Brother Hussein, I know you just joined. We can also go over the training again. Ali, do you mind stopping the recording?
I will do that.
Okay, thank you.